Welcome to episode 1 of LPV Politics, where LPV stands for lowest production value. Basically, I'm just using my iPhone and I'm using my daughter's easel because there's a chalkboard on it. You can even hear my daughter in the background because, yeah, I don't have a babysitter. She's eating ice cream. That's the kind of value you're getting for this. Thankfully, it's free. There's going to be actual edits this video because I'm going to be looking at the chalkboard because I have something I want to show you guys as graph. Okay, I don't have anything to hold the camera, so this is going to be fun. The y-axis on the left of this graph, so it starts with S on the top and goes down to E on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. That is the socioeconomic axis. At the very top, it would be purely social. Nothing is purely social. At the bottom is purely economic. Nothing's purely economic. So things are going to actually hit those absolute values. The x-axis goes from what says L to C, that's liberal, to conservative. Okay. Now, in America, this would represent the center, right? That blue line there would represent the center of what is liberal and conservative. That's American traditionally, okay? Now, the global center, in comparison to the American center, would actually probably be closer to this, okay? Our traditional American center is actually to the right of the global center. We don't need that any longer. Current American center is going to actually be closer to here. So yes, the traditional American center is there. Currently, we are more right than we've ever been as a society. Now, what kind of politics are we looking at? Like, see, in 2016, what were we offering? Well, we had Donald Trump. Donald Trump is somewhere over here. Incredibly right-wing. Okay? Now, if you're Democrats and you're trying to defeat him, you might think a good idea would be to potentially run a platform like this. Right? If you're on a platform like that, you might be able to beat him. It's very centrist, it's very much in the middle. The problem with running a politician like that is that if your views don't fall somewhere within the middle of this, you might be this other person who says, hey, there's no difference between the two parties, or the difference is so minimal that it doesn't matter. This is a party that is not fulfilling my views, etc. And if you're my friend Joe, if you hear that, that's probably like the same thing as, well, that didn't actually make the noise, but effectively nails across the chalkboard, right? Because the Democratic Party isn't like that. That is not how it's operating. Corporate donors, there we go. Corporate donors don't care about social issues that much. They care about this part, right? The part down here. This is the economic portion. They really want economic policy to remain in that zone. Problem is if you have, a Republican Party that's way over to the right here, and a Democratic Party that's way over to the right as well, then a leftist party might appear that could screw everything up. Conversely, if you're a corporate entity, you don't want to see a Democratic Party that's over there. Because this is where you want to live. This is where you feel comfortable. There's a little bit of volatility to take advantage of, but I mean, basically from administration to administration, you guys are going to be able to keep on churning out what you want. And recognize that policies that are to the right of this line here hurt workers. Not that the markets care. The markets love this section here. They can live with this section here, which doesn't hurt workers quite as bad. Stuff over here would be great for workers, but that would actually hurt markets, and markets don't want anything to do with it. But if you are a corporate donor to the Democratic Party, or if you are just any corporate entity that really wants to live in this zone, how do you make sure that a Democrat like this never comes into being? You push for Democrats whose views are like this. You push for Democrats where they're social only can be pretty far to the left, but when it comes to fiscal policy, they're, if not center, straight up right of center, which is where this would fall. This is how Hillary Clinton was presented to the world. And if you're the sort of person that doesn't care about social issues because they don't affect you, say, oh, I don't know, white working class dudes, then you're not going to see much difference here. Here's the problem. This curve doesn't represent Hillary Clinton. No, it doesn't. That was Hillary Clinton. This here is actually Joe Biden. And this, in between, is another color. That's Amy Klobuchar. Okay? Now, along comes Bernie Sanders in 2016, and he's like, I want to do this. See, this stuff here, this is important economic stuff that we haven't addressed in a long time. But he's scared. He knows that this stuff over here, those social issues, he wants nothing to do with that. He thinks that turns away, let's face it, the white working class. Okay, this is why he wants the big tent to include people who are not for reproductive rights. That's why he likes someone like Dan Lipinski, who's pro-union but actually anti-choice. He likes the Mitchell Landrie's of the world. He tells people who go to his rallies, don't concentrate on identity politics, concentrate on economic policy. That's why he says that economic policy will help marginalized communities because good economic policy helps everybody. Well, if your world is in this section here, that's going to feel craptastic to you. You feel like you've been left behind, that you've been let down, that the things that matter in your life don't matter to him. And that's bad. But I think he's recognized on some level that this might not work. That you might not be able to get people to elect you. So he wants to go for the solid, straight line down. I mean, he's definitely more progressive, even socially, than freaking Trump, right? So, what could we do, knowing that corporations like the Bidens of the world, like the Hillary Clintons and the Klobuchars of the world, but that economic justice is so far away from their policies, but not embrace an ideology like Bernie Sanders, who doesn't care about, who does not care about social issues and thinks that identity politics are bad. So remember, here's Bernie, and here's Biden. Now, Biden's really more like this. Okay? There's Bernie, here's Biden. What if? And here's where Hillary Clinton really was. Okay? What if we said, okay, Bernie's right, we can't have economic policy this far to the left and win. But we don't, if we prioritize social values, maybe we go just a little bit to the right. Maybe we don't embrace the term democratic socialism. We believe in, economic justice, and we believe in a strong social safety net, and we believe in government that helps the middle class more. But maybe we don't go all the way to getting rid of all student debt, but get rid of a good amount of it so that people can, create a better life and still concern ourselves with things like bodily autonomy for women, concern ourselves with reparations for black people, concern ourselves with the rights of LGBT community, etc. Couldn't that win? What would that candidate look like? I'll give you a hint. She's already out there. The candidate I'm referring to is Elizabeth Warren, who, yes, is slightly to the right, of Bernie Sanders when it comes to economic policy, but is to the left of him on almost every social issue, and social economic issues that sort of straddle the line. We're talking about like the Hyde Amendment, which, so I mean, for example, if abortion is a social issue at the top access, Hyde Amendment makes it a social economic issue because poor people can't access it, then they don't have, really don't, the right doesn't apply to them. The same thing sort of goes with for-profit prisons, right? Social justice, it's not a purely social issue, private prisons, because people have there's an economic motivation for people with for-profit prisons. So that's a socioeconomic issue as opposed to purely, say, expunging marijuana records. That would be more of a social issue. A purely economic issue would be simply like the cost-benefit analysis of prisons or of medical care in general. So if abortion access is generally a social issue, the Hyde Amendment making it available to poor women that are on Medicare, that's a socioeconomic issue. And I believe on socioeconomic and social issues, Elizabeth Warren is to the left because she's not willing to compromise her stances on identity politics. She embraces reparations. She embraces a litmus test for the Democratic Party to put Roe v. Wade into statute, which Bernie Sanders is not doing because he's afraid of alienating white working class dudes. I don't know that the distance between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders on economic issues is going to make enough of a difference to lose and peel off enough white working class voters to matter. But it will matter greatly to the marginalized communities that he's basically trying to dismiss by saying identity politics is a losing issue. We don't want to worry about it. We need to be Big Tent on social issues. That's why he likes the Lipinskis of the world. He likes the Mitch Landrieux of the world, even though they are anti-choice and they are bad for the Democratic Party brand. Having pro-life Democrats is bad. It convinces people that we don't care about the issues that we say are matter to our party. Elizabeth Warren doesn't fall into that trap. She's going for it. We do need to have better economic justice in this country. And I think she can, actually accomplish that. Now, in that initial graph, when I said that was what Hillary Clinton was, but then I told you it was actually Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton appeared to be what Joe Biden actually is. Okay, and that was partially her own fault, and not hers, but more her campaign's fault in how they rolled them out, but really also the media and how it portrayed her. But it isn't a question of portrayal on any level with Elizabeth Warren. She is that. It wasn't meant to be a pro-Elizabeth Warren video, but that's who I am for her. And I think that there are other candidates that are further economically left than certainly than the Klobuchars or the Bidens of the world, but also even Hillary in 2016. And I think that Harris is to the left of her. I think there's some genuine concern about her track record as a prosecutor, but I think that she's should be a good candidate. But if you really are somebody who believes both in social justice and economic justice, both things, you don't want to disappear the issues on either front, then clearly I believe that Elizabeth Warren is the candidate for you. And clearly corporate interests are going to scramble to paint her as unelectable. And Bernie files are going to paint her as unelectable because that little tiny difference, that little tiny bit between her and him on economic issues, if you're a white dude, that's a big deal to you because that stuff up top means nothing to you. That's why Bernie bros tend to be white dudes, or, some white women that are not really interested, or for whatever reason, those social issues don't affect them. But it's an important thing to think about in terms of, what is going to be better for the entire base of the Democratic Party, not just the economic justice seeking people, but also the social justice seeking people. And I don't think that there's a candidate that better exemplifies both things, social justice and economic justice, and prioritizes both things and says we can't sweep one or the other under the rug than Elizabeth Warren. And I believe she's electable. But clearly, the corporate centrist party, the third way people are going to either try to push her to the right, or failing that, we're going to try to sabotage her campaign. And the Bernie files are going to do the same thing. But I believe she can get past it, and she can do the most good for the most people. And that's why I support her. Thanks for listening.